Hi, I'm Alana Ferry, and I am the Associate Editor for Canadian Manufacturing. We have a very special guest here with us today, Navdeep Bains, who is our Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry. Minister, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Alana.
I'm very curious, how has the COVID-19 pandemic really shaken up your day-to-day responsibilities and tasks, or have any of them stayed the same?
No, the current health crisis has had a profound impact on the way I work. Because of my job description, I have to travel a lot. I live in Mississauga, so I would travel to Ottawa if I had parliamentary responsibilities, or travel within Canada, supporting different businesses and supporting different Canadians. And there was a fair amount of international travel as well, and all that's come to a halt. And I work a lot from home. And I've got two young girls, a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. But we're very blessed to live in a house where we have enough space where they can have their downtime while I do calls and webinars. So it's been interesting in the sense that working from home has allowed me to spend more time with the family, but I do miss the interaction with my colleagues.
And I think all of us as a whole have been feeling that exactly. And tell me, what is Canada's plan to mobilize industry to fight COVID-19?
Well, this is an unprecedented crisis, and we recognize that to support our frontline healthcare workers, we needed a personal protective equipment. Our objective from day one was to protect Canadians and to flatten the curve. And in order to do that, we needed to make sure that we also supported our local health authorities. But the reality was that a lot of the personal protective equipment relied on global supply chains from other jurisdictions, in particular where we would procure some of that essential supply. And we mobilized industry, particularly the manufacturing sector in Canada. We had a call to action in March as this crisis was starting to really pick up here in Canada, and asked them to come forward with solutions and ideas, what they can do to retool, what they can do to scale up. And it's been remarkable. We've seen over 6,500 different Canadian entrepreneurs and scientists and researchers and innovators come forward with different types of ideas, and over 700 companies have retooled their manufacturing operations. And so that's been incredible, because that's allowed us to build the domestic capacity for gowns, for ventilators, for masks, etc., which has been so critical to our frontline healthcare workers.
And what results have been achieved thus far in terms of the production of PPE, sanitizers, ventilators, and other medical and disease control equipment?
So first of all, I want to also just say thank you. Thank you to Canadian manufacturers who have recognized this as an opportunity for us to come together as Team Canada to support fellow Canadians to save lives. So a heartfelt thank you. But also, as you said, we've been able to do some remarkable things. Take ventilators, for example. This was a major issue. We saw in other jurisdictions where countries had to decide who would live and who would die because of the limited supply of ventilators. And we were able to engage Canadian companies like Starfish, for example, or CAE, or Art McDonald's initiative to help produce thousands and thousands, 40,000 actually, to be exact, ventilators in Canada. Thornhill Medical is another great example of that. And so we've been able to not only meet the demands of Canadians, but be in a position to help other jurisdictions. And I think that's a point of pride where Canadian companies have supported Canadians, but now are in a position to help our friends and neighbors as well.
And how is your ministry providing support to manufacturers who are interested in the program?
So we work very closely with Procurement Canada as well. So Minister Anand, for example, and I work hand in hand. We recognize that it's our responsibility to identify the companies, but to make sure there's a seamless process for a purchase order as well, so that companies can make that capital investment, they can scale up. And we've seen remarkable success stories. Take, for example, General Motors, the Oshawa plant. We know some of the challenges they've had there recently, but they were able to quickly retool and now commit to making 10 million masks, which has been a remarkable story as well. But also medical grade gowns. These were in high demand, and the challenge we were having was, how do we source local material? how do we source local material that meets Health Canada specifications? And we were able to, through again, Canadian innovation, Canadian ideas, come forward with construction house wrap, as well as the nylon from airbags as the raw material, the source material for medical grade gowns. And so that's been another remarkable story as well. And all of this is done through working with us at Innovation Canada, but also through the procurement department as well. And so if you're a Canadian company, if you reach out to our office, we quickly work with you and find out if there's an opportunity to get a purchase order and connect you with Procurement Canada.
And what challenges has your ministry and the government as a whole had to overcome to marshal Canada's manufacturing capacity for this mission?
Well, truth be told, we're not designed to move this quickly. Our procurement process, some of the policies that we put forward would take months, if not years, to implement, and we've had to do it in weeks. And that's a testament to our public servants, and I want to thank them. But it has been a bit of a challenge, particularly in procurement, where we've had a culture that is a bit risk averse. But we've been able to change that quite a bit. One of the programs that I'm very proud of is Innovative Solutions Canada. And this is a cross-government procurement strategy using our purchasing power to identify unique challenges that we have, particularly around test kits, for example, point of care test kits. And we've done a lot of challenges out there with Canadian manufacturing companies, with Canadian scientists and researchers, and working with them together to say, look, can you come forward with solutions? And we've helped them with their proof of concept, their prototype as well. And it's been remarkable to see some of the exciting ideas that are emerging using, for example, saliva-based samples to do point of care test kits, which is going to be critical for the reopening of our economy. And I think that's a remarkable success story as well. But more directly around your question, it's really been changing the culture within government, particularly around procurement, to be more nimble and more flexible and agile to meet the needs of these Canadian manufacturers that have stepped up in a big way.
And have the companies that are involved in the program, have any of them provided you with any suggestions or feedback on how the program is going, or any changes that should be made, if any?
Well, they are trying to think through what are some of the longer term implications of this retooling effort. So when we talk about made in Canada and we talk about using our industrial base and our manufacturing base, what does this mean for the economic recovery in the medium and long term? Are we rethinking our supply chains, for example? And they want to know what that strategy looks like so they can plan accordingly. They can devise business plans with the 5-year time horizons, make capital investments. And so this is part of the process that we're engaged with, which is, of course, we're still in the crisis and we need to protect Canadians. We need to make sure that we recognize that COVID still exists around us and we need to take the appropriate precautions. But as we talk about the restart and the economic recovery, what kind of investments do we need to make in Canadian manufacturing so that we're a resilient economy, a self-sufficient economy when it comes to healthcare and particularly food security as well? So these are two areas where we're talking about not only just in time, but just in case as well.
Absolutely. And what are the expectations for this program as the COVID-19 situation develops? And what will the program look like when we're hopefully someday soon living in a post-COVID-19 world?
I think this is a great opportunity for us as government to reevaluate our industrial policy, our procurement strategies. That is why I was so proud to announce an industry strategy council, which has many different sectors that are represented, including Rhonda Barnett, who you know very well, who's championed manufacturing, and she sits on the committee as well. And so we're working together to determine what those next steps would be for manufacturing, what are the opportunities to support Canadian companies, and that's really an exciting part from our perspective when it comes to reevaluating our policies and programs around procurement, as well as more broadly speaking, our industrial strategy.
And it's crazy to think that we're now at the end of June, but as the program stands right now, what is the status of it? Are you finding that a lot of new manufacturers are expressing interest in joining the program, or are the manufacturers who already are involved, are they finding new ways to help?
Well, we are one source of revenue, and of course, we've made significant purchase orders for personal protective equipment with many Canadian manufacturers, but they also are working with provinces and municipalities, and some of them even directly with hospitals. But as we're reopening the economy, they're working with businesses as well to make sure that they have the essential personal protective equipment to create a safe work environment. So we're seeing a lot of businesses pivot not only from government to the private sector now to look at more opportunities for them to expand their product offerings and to be able to generate more revenue and opportunities for growth. And that's really exciting because, again, it creates jobs, it creates opportunities, but ultimately it saves lives. The thing I want to underscore is that manufacturing, in particular, all those companies that have stepped up in Canada are not only creating economic opportunities, but have helped us enormously deal with the challenges associated with this health crisis as well.
That was really beautifully said, Minister. Thank you. And that really does summarize all of the questions I had for you today. Did you have any final thoughts or comments or anything I didn't ask about this program that you would like me to know about?
Look, my message is very clear. I'm very proud of the way Canadians have come together to support one another. We're still in this crisis. We still got to work together as we navigate through this crisis. I'm optimistic we will come out stronger. We will be better off. We will learn from these experiences and create more opportunities for Canadians, particularly in manufacturing. And I'm really optimistic and excited about the future.
Minister, it was a pleasure being able to chat with you today, and I really enjoyed getting to know you more and to learn more about this program, and I really do wish you all the best moving forward.
Well, thank you again for having me on.